This is the Soul to Earth podcast. I'm your host, Carey Kaas, psychic, evidential medium, mentor, and witch, here to help you explore your connection with the spirit world and discover your own grounded spiritual practice. Welcome to the Soul to Earth podcast. I'm your host, Carey Kaas. I am so excited about this episode. Today, we're going to be talking about my love affair with the amazing tool of tarot. Let's get started. Where I like to start most of these episodes when it comes to my own spiritual practices, and then how I use this both in my personal life, but also with my students when I do readings for clients, and so on. I was trained in my 20s, as I've mentioned to you all before, to do psychic readings, energy healings, and we never used any outside tools. In fact, my teacher frowned upon it. I think he felt as though it would put a block between our psychic abilities and the energy that flowed through us and the information we were receiving. And I think he almost looked at it as a crutch. And so for many years, I had no interest at all in anything to do with tarot. In fact, tarot seemed to me a system that basically slowed things down, slowed the messages down, slowed channeling down. And I didn't see it as a necessity whatsoever. I used oracle cards. I brought through those messages. I thought they seemed pleasant and nice, but I didn't see them as being necessary. So today, what I'm going to be talking to you about is how tarot came into my life and kind of took over, and how I use it today, again, for my own personal practice, how I use it with my students and clients, and what a gift that I feel it is for people for so many reasons. I really became interested in tarot in 2019. Here we are, 2024. So we're almost at into the 5-year mark when I became aware of it again and started paying attention to it, because a lot of people that I respected in the spiritual community were using tarot, and I just thought there must be something to this. From the outsider's perspective, it also seemed complicated, if I'm being honest, and it made me feel as though it would take too long to learn it. And so part of me, because I was quite busy with building my business and getting my clientele up and running, I didn't see a need for it. I just thought it just seemed like something nice, right? Something that I might pick up later. And I can't even remember the exact time, but I know that it was in 2022. I believe it was in the fall of 2022. Something started calling me. And actually, it was because I was watching some of the other psychic mediums I now call friends using tarot. And I started to notice how they were incorporating it into their work. And something in it started to come through for me, a channeling of sorts, and a current of energy, I like to call it. And I felt as though I was being drawn into it, and I could start to feel the pull of this desire of wanting to understand it and to study it and to make it my own. And so in January, literally after Christmas, January 2023, I bought my first deck, and I began studying every single day since that, like in the beginning of January 2023, I became obsessed with tarot. And there's many reasons why, and now in reflection, I'm going to share all that with you, but that's where it started for me. And here we are, it's September 2024, so I'm 20 months in, and I can't imagine my life without tarot. I am so connected to the journey of the Fool. I'm so connected to the archetypes. I am connected to the elemental aspects of it. I'm connected to the symbolism. I'm connected to how it brings through numerology, astrology. It brings through these principles of archetypes and the elements of life's challenges, but it also is so deeply accurate in how it is able to reflect where someone is at any given moment and what's coming through from the subconscious. A lot of very well-respected people use tarot, which also include therapists and healthcare professionals. And many people study tarot for years. There are incredible works of, I want to say, art that have been created around tarot. And also the books that have just taught me so much. There's an endless amount of information when it comes to this incredible divination tool, but also this system. So let's talk a little bit about the history of tarot and how it developed from my perspective. So, tarot was first seen as a game. I believe it's coined in the 1500s in Italy. And it was really seen as more of like a game that people used, and that was probably done at parties, and something more that was incorporated in this way that was for fun and pleasure, kind of like some of us see poker. What happened is somewhere in the 1780s, it became connected by an occultist, at least this is the information that was given, named Jean-Baptiste Alliette. And also Antoine Court de Gebelin. And this was in 1783. And they began to assign divinatory meanings to the tarot cards. And from there, it moved into later in the 1800s. And then soon after, it's when the Rider-Waite deck was created, and also later in the early 19th century, the Golden Dawn, which is more of an occultist order, took on tarot and began to connect in the symbols that were created by the Rider-Waite Smith deck into these principles, which we're going to be speaking about more today. So we've got this history that has developed. We have the system that is now really connected, both in the sense of the symbolism and the literalness of what we can find. And a lot of people who aren't even spiritual use tarot in certain ways to be able to reflect more from a humanistic perspective. What are some of the challenges that are going on in people's lives and how to uncover them? But there's also many people who are more occultists and spiritualists who use tarot in this way that and I sort of stand on both camps, where we feel as we are connecting, and that tarot is animated. And it has a sense of being connected to our higher selves, our spirit guides, our loved ones, our ancestors, deities, angels, and any of the other spiritual entities or energies that we connect with. So it's a highly sacred system to many people. And I really respect people's connection to their tarot deck. I am of the mind that I can't tell someone else their divination system, whether it's right or wrong. And like many other divination systems that have come before it, such as, throwing bones, reading tea leaves, scrying with liquids. There's all types of ways that people are able to connect with the spirit world and bring forth information. So what is tarot in the sense of how do we view it, and why are so many people so captivated by this incredible tool? Really, in my estimation, I think a lot of people agree with this, is that when we're talking about tarot, we're talking about the journey that we go through in life. And the tarot itself is broken down into two systems. So it's broken into arcana, which are archetypes, into what are known as the major arcana, which are stages of someone's life, and the larger lessons, things of that nature, and the minor arcana. Minor arcana are more daily things that we deal with. So when we break these into two different camps, and we start with the majors and then we move on to the minors, we can see how thematically where, when we're doing a reading, someone might be depending on their query or their question. And so the symbolism, if we're really, that's why a lot of tarot teachers ask for students to start with the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. You've probably heard that before. There's a strong reason for that, and definitely a strong argument for that, is because there are universal symbols that are found in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck that often will be found in other decks after that. So many decks are built upon the framework of Rider-Waite-Smith. So there's this continuity, right? Because what we're talking about when we're talking about the major arcana is the fool's journey. Someone starts out in some part of their life, right, where they are the fool. They're brand new. They're starting out, right? And then they go through the trials and tribulations throughout life, the highs and lows, the challenges, needing to discern, grow, to be able to understand relationships, understand what it means to then go out into the world and create, deal with difficulties, overcome the ego, align with the higher self, and then come back to a center of completion. And even within that journey, there's so much nuance. So when you're looking at a tarot card, one of my teachers, I'm going to bring on two of my teachers into this season so you can learn about their incredible experiences with tarot and their perspectives, and they're just amazing. But when we're looking at even a card of tarot, let's say, for example, I'm going to pull one of the cards because I love showing examples, and we're doing this on YouTube. So here we are. So we have the Sun card, one of the primary cards that are found in the major arcana. When we're looking at tarot, many of us believe at looking at all of the symbols that are found within a card. So we're looking at colors, we're looking at numbers, we are looking at what symbols are found on a card. We're looking at the body posture and the direction that the person is put in place on the card. We're looking at animals. We are looking at, and all of these are connected to an element. Elements being earth, air, water, and fire. Also meaning fire is passion, energy, enthusiasm. Air is the intellect, the mind, communication. Water is creativity, emotion, relationships. And then earth is building something. It's grounded, right? It can also be connected to finance, something solid you're building. So when you pull a card for someone, and then based on their question, if it's a single card in this case, you're looking at all these factors and you're taking it into account, how this applies to their question. Then when you take another layer and put it on it, you put a card next to it and you build this story in the moment of where this person is. And with their question, how does their energy, their emotions, their thoughts, their feelings, their determination, their passion, what they're building, what they're investing in, how does that come into play? The minor arcana have a lot to do with daily things that we deal with, things that we can overcome fairly regularly without too much concern, unless we're really stuck in a pattern. So we go through that journey when we take these steps. And in each of, they're called the suits, we find an ace, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we go through the court cards, page, knight, queen, and king. And so we understand that sometimes these things have so much depth to them and nuance that even if you were to pick up a book on tarot and if you only read what the keywords are. You're missing out on all the nuance that's found in the card itself. So if you're just reading keywords, you're not picking up on the colors, the numbers, the nuance, you see? So the other thing is sometimes people tend to come in when they're learning it quickly and have fast and quick little snippets of what they think it means, but they're not really diving in, or they're not asking questions that are more open-ended with more depth. Now, what a lot of people wonder, like, how do you take all that information and then read intuitively? Well, some people, the way they read tarot is completely, they don't necessarily rely, they do a little bit of keywords and then they do a lot of intuition. Everyone is very different. And I just honor the system, like I say, because I feel like a lot of the times I know for myself, I know a lot about the cards and I know a lot about the entire journey, and I have studied it and I will continue to do so. But I also, my intuition overlays the entire thing and guides the experience. And it really leads me to like when to stop pulling, when to pull a card, right? I hear things from my guides and the guides who are connected in with the person I'm reading. So there's so much nuance to it and so much beauty that come through in a reading that blending both for me is the ideal thing. So we're blending in all that information about astrology, numerology, elements, archetypes, the divination portion of it, and then reading psychically in with it. Now, one of the people we're going to have on the podcast later on this year, which I'm really excited about for this season, is one of my mentors for tarot named Jenna Matlin. She's written several books on tarot, continues to teach it. I've already taken classes with her and I continue to do so. She actually uses tarot and with mediumship and has an incredible system. I just am in the middle of taking that class, and I'm an evidential medium, as you know, and that has been so interesting and eye-opening to me to feel the connection and allow that to flow through. Sometimes it's not as I'm finding with it that I am allowing that, because I am an medium, so I'm coming in and letting the spirit impress upon me. But I do notice the amazing symbolism that I'm drawn to in the cards, and it has a deeper flow. It takes over more than some of the way I read tarot. So it's a different system. It's very exciting though, and I'm really excited to have her on as well. So there are so many aspects to reading tarot, and even the thing that I'm really advancing on now with tarot has to do with the questions you ask and formulating questions and really using it as a tool for healing for my clients and deep understanding, and not just quick little fix questions, something that says, how can I improve upon the things that I have in my life based on my own efforts? And where am I stuck? And what's holding me back? What do I need to work on? How can I then open up to these things in my life? What do I need to know about my mindset? So if you drill in more, I'm finding you can get to these places with your readings that are just incredible. So my teacher, her name is Soraya, and Soraya is an incredible tarot teacher, and she has this incredible tool that she uses for her teaching called the Tarot Tutor. So she's very much a traditionalist when it comes to studying the tarot. She really sticks with what has been given us, but you flow with your intuition in it. She's been an incredible teacher for me, but she's really taught me about these questions to ask, to understand clearly how to get down to where the person is going to be able to really clearly see what's holding them back, what they need to work on, where they are in their journey, and how can they be helped moving forward. This is what the tarot offers us, this incredible, rich, depthful experience. Now, oracle cards can do the same thing. And you can definitely pull on symbols in this way, and you can bring forth numerology. You can bring forth astrology. You can bring forth the elements. You can bring forth archetypes, current of energy. And there's some incredible oracle creators out that these days. I use a lot of a few. I use a lot of Kim Kranz's work, which I absolutely adore her archetypal work. It's very Joseph Campbell. She has the animal spirit, the wild unknown. I mean, I use her cards in so much of what I do. She also does have this incredible where she works more with animals with her version of her tarot deck, which is just so stunning. So there's so many different types of and ways that you can move with it, but some of the symbols remain the same. Now, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about for my journey with being a medium, working with deities, and then working with my spirit guides, and then working with tarot. Like, how does this work? So a lot of people that worship deities or have, guides they work with, specifically, they assign different decks to their guides as a means of divination, of communication, right? So in my case, like, I know the meanings of all the cards pretty much in and out, back and forth. And with some of the decks I have dedicated one specifically because the symbolism reminds me of the deities I work with. And also I have a psychic connection with them mediumistically as well. So I can feel into what I think they would like. And they've told me what they like. So for example, one of the goddesses I work with very strongly is Hecate. And so she's very much for me about the earth and nature and creation. I mean, she's a liminal witch, and she's the goddess of witchcraft. So she's very much a part of my practice. I'm creating things like spell oils. I'm using herbs. It's very earth-based. So the deck I use for her is called the Hush Tarot deck. And it really has these strong images of like animals and nature. And it has her symbol is our keys. So there are keys in it. There's crows. There's some imagery. You can kind of, if you're looking at my YouTube, you can see here with the key, and this crow is here. And it just speaks to me so much of her. This is one of her cards for me, which is the Two of Cups. Also, my spirit guides tell me, how does that work? I can clairaudiently hear them. They tell me what cards represent them in the decks that are theirs. So for example, in this deck, I have about 3 cards that represent Hecate. So I know if I'm trying to communicate with her and getting information, and I pull these cards, I'm getting a message. I'm hearing a validation from her. It's giving me insight. Also, she works with keys, so you can see the keys in this imagery. So this is another opportunity that tarot gives us, is a divination tool, and of being able to commune and connect and get validation. Now, you might be asking, if you're a bit of a skeptic, which I always welcome skeptics, I have no problem with that, of how do you know it's your guide coming through? Well, just like our loved ones in the spirit world, our guides send us messages. They send us signs and symbols in the physical world. And for me, this happens regularly with the guides that I work closely with. I see images, I find things on the ground, I hear songs, I'm prompted in a lot of ways. There's synchronicities with things. You see things all around you in your environment. It just happens continuously. You maybe have a special number for them, or a special song, or a special image that represents them. And you'll see it over and over again in your environment. And this is part of how it works when you're working with tarot cards, is that it's based on symbols and then how it makes you feel and the current and connection that you have. Because everything around us, really, we have an opportunity. That's the beauty of working with tarot and oracle cards, is that it connects you in with symbols. It connects you in with a current of energy. It gives you the opportunity to have the spirits around you and the environment you're in and the people that you work with. It has a chance to connect with an energy flow and then bring it back in a symbol in the physical world. And that's what's so powerful for me about tarot, is that it gives me that sense of connection and symbolism, both with my own spiritual path and my practice, but also when it comes to my clients and my students, that when I pull cards and we've talked about seeing an owl, or they told me about a dream they had, and then it shows up in a card, it creates that little bit more of evidence, that grounding, that validation, that solid connection in the physical world to the spiritual. And that really was why I love tarot so much. It's because it's physical evidence of something that you're connected with internally, and you can get that and give validation, not just what's within you, but to the person you're reading. Share that wisdom with them, and it opens up a door of light and clarity and meaning and wisdom, and it really just kind of puts it like dots the I's and crosses the T's. It's just a beautiful art form, and I will be speaking on this again and again. There are some, like I said, incredible teachers that I want to hopefully bring on to our podcast. Two of them I know for sure are going to be here. I have a couple more that I would like to interview, that because I'm so excited about it. I think tarot is a gift. It is a gift that we've been given, and it is a form of both personal transformation and tools, being able to connect with our intuition and our shadow, but also with our guides, our ancestors, our deities, and ourselves. I want to thank you again so much for supporting my podcast, and I can't wait to see many of you here again in the next episode. I want to let you know too that I am going to be releasing a few courses that I'm very excited about that will be pre-recorded, and they'll be coming with workbooks, PDFs, and be very clearly laid out, things that will really help you develop your intuition, your connection with your higher self, and so much more. So make sure you're following me on all my socials, on Instagram, YouTube, of course, and then on TikTok. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And remember, keeping yourself grounded and really connected to what is true for you spiritually is the way to stay grounded and connected in your practice as a spiritual being. I hope this helps. I can't wait to see you on the next episode. Take good care.
You've been listening to the Soul to Earth podcast. Follow me on social media and watch the full episodes on YouTube.